Let's start with how you got into the music industry. I know you said it was in the corporate, you're in the corporate world.
Yeah. So I was growing up, I was just a fan of music. I didn't think I was going to be in the music industry. So I knew that eventually I wanted to own my own business, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I majored in business at UC Berkeley. I graduated, became an internal auditor for Wells Fargo,
Mm-hmm.
did some work for Goldman Sachs. Then I pressed the reset button and went back to business school and got my MBA from Stanford. And then what a lot of people do that still don't know what they want to do coming out of B school is they go into consulting. So that's what I did. I worked
Mm-hmm.
for Deloitte Consulting in Chicago for about a year and some change. And then I got laid off. And at that time, I was like, okay, now what do I want to do? It just so happened that my younger brother was going to UC Irvine at the time, and he wasn't really he was kind of bouncing around from major to major. It wasn't really taking school too serious, but he's an artist and he wanted to do music full time. So
Mm-hmm.
he was like, Dame, can you help me? At the same time, he had somebody that was in a friend of his that was in a completely different situation, but equally as frustrated. This was Hobson. He was signed to a label at the time, but he had the idea that he wanted to start his own label.
Uh-huh.
So I came in and said, okay, I'll work on the business side of things. You guys work on the creative side of things, and let's just figure it out. And that's how I got into the music industry.
Right. And then that's when you guys all created Funk Volume.
Yep.
So essentially your start in the music industry was creating this record label.
Yeah. We just jumped in. I mean, I just being a consultant, what you do as a management consultant is you work on different problems for Fortune 500 companies. So you're constantly thrown into different industries and you are tasked with doing the research to figure things out. And
Right.
that's kind of how I approached this. It seemed kind of simple from the outside looking in, knowing that if you had fans, then you can probably unlock any door in the music industry. So if you have fans, you can tour. If you have fans, you can sell merchandise. If you have fans, that is the bloodline to your career. So understanding that, we put hyper focus on building a fan base on social media.
Right. What would you say at the time? Because I mean, the education that you attained, I mean, you went to some amazing schools, and so it seems like you're really knowledgeable in the finance side of business, which is ideal for anyone who starts a business. But what would you say, since this was your start in music, was your biggest misconception?
Well, for me, what took me by surprise was just the amount of unprofessionalism in the music industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when you work with people in the music industry, you're working with people with all types of formal education backgrounds, people that some people that have never held a 9 to 5, some people that have never had structure. And there's some people that have been in the music industry for a long time and that should be more professional by now, but it's going to range. It's going to be a wide range. You're going to work with some people that are super professional, and then you're going to work with some people that can't return a text, can't return an email, can't return a call, nothing.
Yeah.
So that was shocking to me initially, because in the world I came from, if you didn't do that bare minimum stuff, like, you would probably get fired or never get hired in the first place.
Right.
So that was a little shocking to me at first, but I've definitely grown accustomed to it for sure.
Yeah. What would you say, aside from that, was the biggest thing you took away from Funk Volume?
Um, I mean, we enjoyed, quite a few years of success. So, that we did a lot of things right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it came to a pretty embarrassing crash and burn. There are probably a number of things I would have done differently to avoid that crash and burn, and
Mm-hmm.
I think one of them would be a requirement for, and I still work. I told myself I was getting out of management and working with artists in that capacity 100%, but I recently started working with an artist named
Futuristic.
with Futuristic. This
Yeah.
so this was like 6 months back. Um, but I told myself I'm not going to work with any other artists that don't have a certain level of commitment to understanding the business, right?
Right.
Because when artists don't understand the business, it increases the chances for some tension, you know, because, you know, if you're trying to approach things from a business perspective and somebody doesn't have that level of understanding and there's a lot of ego mixed in, it's kind of a recipe for a disaster. So going forward, I'm not trying to take on any other artist besides Futuristic because I have a lot of other stuff going on, but that definitely needs to be part of the formula on top of being talented and hardworking, etc. You know, all the other qualities an artist must have. There has to be some commitment to, you know, learning the business for sure.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. When me and you jumped on the phone and spoke briefly, and you were telling me a little bit about all this, and then you kind of segued into talking about the Music Entrepreneur Club. You know, as I mentioned earlier, I love that you took from that experience to create something that would help others in exactly doing this was, you know, educating artists to be more articulate in business, which I totally understand and agree with you that they need to be more fluent in that.
Yeah. So, you know, the Funk Volume experience definitely put more fuel on that fire. But even as we were growing the label, you know, we were constantly sharing information. So I would say 2013, 2014, I was holding like virtual conferences for artists. So, you know, the passion to educate artists started, you know, long before the label ended. It just kind of put more fuel in saying this really needs to happen. Like you know, it really needs to happen so we can, you know, educate artists. They can take more control of their careers and they can work better with, you know, business people. You know, and it decreases the likelihood of, you know, tension if artists have a good understanding of the business.
Right. Was it your passion to help artists that had you continue working in the music industry and not quit after what had happened?
But I'm sorry, phrase that. What was that question again?
Like, you know, I would think that, you know, what had happened with Funk Volume would have someone wanting to just leave the music industry entirely or just quit. So was it your passion to help other artists that kind of kept you going within music?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely thought about it because, you know, I don't necessarily need to be in the music industry. I've put myself in a position to do a variety of things should I want to pursue them. But I look back over the past, you know, 8, 9, 10 years, and like I've learned a lot, you know, and a lot of this knowledge can help other people pursue their career, you know, for people that have talent and that want to cultivate a fan base and monetize that fan base and actually have a legit business. You know, there's probably some things I can help with. And I enjoy teaching. Like it's always been a part of what I've done. Even in college, I would mentor and tutor young people. Shoot, even when I got laid off from my consulting gig, and like, cause it took probably 2 or 3 years before it actually became like a real business. So I was still doing like side consulting projects and other things. And one of the things that I was doing was substitute teaching while Funk Volume was still, you know, kind of building some momentum. Cause when we started Funk Volume, we definitely weren't making money right away.
Right.
So yeah, I was actually substitute teaching as part of, as one of the ways that I was, you know, paying my bills as we were getting things moving.
Right. I've actually been I've actually been a substitute teacher myself before too.
Nice.
So that's cool. That's like a fun fact for sure in someone's journey.
Nice.
So before I get into the Music Entrepreneur Club, how did you meet Futuristic? Or how did you, because you mentioned that you didn't want to manage artists. So why Futuristic? Like what made you change your mind?
Sure. So we had an existing relationship already because I had come across Futuristic. So about 2 or 3 years into Funk Volume, we started a contest, a rap contest called the Don't Fuck Up Our Beats contest. And we ran that contest for like 5 or 6 years. It had like a brand in and of itself. Like artists would look forward to participating in this contest that we held every year. And it was an idea that I started that I felt like, you know, obviously people would want to win money and it would just bring traffic to our site. It would be good marketing for our beats, for our brand, everything. So we started this contest, and Futuristic participated in one of them. It was probably like the second or third one that we ran, and that's how he got on my radar. But even after that, like, he also collabed with every artist on our label. So, you know, he got a lot of his fan base from us. And he would open up when we would go to Phoenix. He opened up our show. So I'd known Futuristic for at least, 5 or 6 years now. And because there was an existing relationship, but more than that, like, he came to me and said he had a plan. And I had never even heard an artist say plan before. So I was like, okay, we have an existing relationship. Let me hear what he has to say. And then the third thing being, like, he has, momentum already. It's just about, like, how can we get to the next level? It's not trying to start from 0 and go to 1. He's on like 5 trying to get to 6.
Right.
So that's another reason that I felt like, and then we just vibe. I just feel like we work well together. The energy matches. He's definitely mature and professional about the way he goes about his business, and he creates really fast. So we have a lot of cool things planned this year, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. What would you recommend to anybody who's trying to manage an artist?
How should they find an artist, or if they have an artist, like, what should they do with that artist?
If they're looking to get into artist management and they're not experienced in it yet.
Right. Well, the qualities that I think you need to have as a manager is you need to be very curious. Like, you need to constantly be educating yourself on what's happening in the industry. So when you do have an artist, you can position him or her to be successful. I mean, keep up with the changes of social media, new platforms. How is Facebook changing? How is Instagram changing their algorithm? What are the new methods in marketing? You need to constantly be educating yourself so that you can put your artist in the best position. You need to constantly be networking. You need to build with people in the music industry, again, so you can get your artist some opportunities. You need to be structured and organized. A lot of times, artists aren't the most structured people. So part of your responsibility is providing that infrastructure, building that infrastructure so that, things can run professionally and you can have a solid foundation. And then you should have a strong business acumen as well. I mean, these days, managers kind of need to be everything. It's kind of an interesting role because you have to develop so many different skills, softer skills and harder skills. So there's a number of things you need to do to be successful as a manager. But I think the things that I've mentioned are some of the top priorities for sure.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Futuristic is based in Phoenix, Arizona.
Correct.
Have you found it difficult to manage him or to grow his career as an artist, him not being in a market like LA or New York or Atlanta?
No, I mean, so we just getting started. So I don't think the location is going to be an issue. I don't foresee it being an issue, given that we have the internet, given the fact that he can hop on a flight and be here in an hour. I don't think that's going to be an impediment to him getting more success. I don't see how it will, but we can do this again in 6 months to a year, and I'll let you know if it was. But I don't see it being an issue at all.
Right. Yeah. I was just wondering. Well, I want to get into the Music Entrepreneurship Club because I know you guys soon are coming to Phoenix,
We are.
Arizona. So tell us a bit about what the Music Entrepreneur Club is.
Sure. So the Music Entrepreneur Club started off as an online platform for music business education and networking. And what we do is we meet on a weekly basis. And it's typically guest speaker driven. So every Monday night I have a guest speaker. So for example, I had a senior vice president from Warner join us not too long ago. I've had people from Songtrust join us. Songtrust is a publishing administrator. So, you know, publishing is probably one of the most confusing topics in the music industry. So we had somebody from Song Trust join us.
Yeah,
And
I would have loved to have joined that because I want
yeah,
to learn more about the publishing side of things for sure.
yeah, so every week we're talking about something. This past Monday we had Chuck Dizzle, who's a radio host here in LA for 92.3, The Real LA,
Mm-hmm.
and he talked about how he became a radio host, why he became a radio host. So for artists, you know, even if you don't want to be a radio host, let's explore some of the myths about radio. How can you really get your music on the radio? Is it possible as an independent artist? Like, so there's so much bad information out there. I felt like we needed a platform where you can hear directly from the people that are doing it, so that you don't come up with these crazy thoughts like it's the Illuminati,
Yeah.
or somebody sold their soul, or somebody sacrificed a goat, or whatever, you know, whatever these crazy things that get said on the internet. You can hear directly from the people that live this and breathe it every day, for a very low cost. It only costs $10 a month. We're actually raising it to $12.99, but still, you know, that's 4 sessions a month. And then we also have the Beat Club too, for producers that want an enhanced experience, that want a producer specific experience. We have the Beat Club that gets ran by my partners, Kato and DJ Payne One. They're both successful producers, and they do more specific stuff for producers to help them get better about their beats, to help them sell more beats, stuff like that. So that session gets held every Tuesday. So you have the option to attend just the Monday, just the Tuesday, or you can join both.
Right. How did you meet both of them?
So Kato was signed to Funk Volume as a producer.
Right.
And that's how, you know, Kato and Jaron Benton were kind of like a package deal almost, because they do so much work together. And then DJ Payne One, we just kind of met, I think kind of through BeatStars, just kind of through the internet. I knew that he was constantly giving out information online. I just felt like he would be a great asset because he knows a lot of information. Mm-hmm. You know, and I support anybody that's giving artists good information. If you're giving artists good information, then I support you, whether you're part of the Music Entrepreneur Club or not. But I think I just met Payne through Twitter and BeatStars.
Yeah. Twitter can be a great bridge builder for sure.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, Tommy, I was speaking to Tommy Will not too long ago, and he was telling me how amazing the Music Entrepreneurship Club is. So you guys are mainly a digital platform, but you guys are going on tour soon.
Yeah. So we felt like, you know, there needed to be like an in-person component to it. And because like there's not very many cities that get quality music industry events, right? You got South by in Austin, A3C in Atlanta, New York and LA probably get some cool events. But we thought we can package something and bring it to cities, like a mini version of, you know, South by. Obviously, we can't recreate the panels at South by because there's so many of them, but we can do a mini version and match the quality, if not exceed it, you know, because everybody that we bring out to these panels has really lived and breathed independent music. So you get a real dose of the independent music business, and hopefully you'll hear some things that you can apply immediately, you know. So I'm looking forward to it. We're starting in Phoenix. We're doing Denver, the Bay, Las Vegas, and LA. You know, LA gets a lot of events, but since it's in my backyard, we figured we'd do one here as well.
For sure. Yeah. And when's the date for the Phoenix?
Phoenix is March 31st. So March 31st, Phoenix, Denver, April 2nd, Las Vegas, April 4th, the Bay, April 5th, and then LA, April 7th.
Okay. Yeah, I really wanted to attend the Phoenix one, but unfortunately I'm going to be out of town. But for anyone that's watching this, I've been telling everyone it sounds like an amazing event, and even if you can't recreate something like South by, I think those intimate spaces can be really, really good for somebody for an event like this.
Yeah, it'll be a great opportunity to learn, a great opportunity to network. I think too often artists and producers, they don't take advantage of even the people in their city. So if we can create an event that brings people together in their city, you know, I think there'll be some great connections being had. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And it seems like for each of them too, you're pulling from the resources of that city and bringing in some special guests.
Yeah, we felt it was important because, we did a lot of touring with Funk Volume. So it gave me an opportunity to build a lot of relationships across the country. So I was familiar with promoters and some of the artists that have influence in these cities. And because we never wanted to seem like we're just coming in and telling you what to do. We're trying to build the community up. We're trying to work with the community and learn like what's going on in your city, because there might be some specific challenges that we're not familiar with, that we need to learn about before we can start talking about how to move. Even though you don't need local support to be successful in the music industry, it definitely does help.
For sure. Yeah. Man. Well, I feel like that is like the perfect spot to come full circle. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
No, I just thank you for having me. It's dope to connect with some of the younger voices. I can always tell who are the serious young voices that will eventually be the prominent voices in hip hop, from whether it's Rosecrans Vic here in LA, you in Tucson. Like, it's easy to identify the young people that really have the passion, the genuineness, the effort. I mean, you putting on the festival in Tucson, it's not an easy thing to do. But given the fact that you've taken it upon yourself, along with your team, to put on something like that, I think you are gaining the experience to be, I don't even know who is the next people that will be running like the platforms that matter in music. So it's an honor to connect with you. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you too. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge on here, but also for creating the Music Entrepreneur Club. I'm going to keep sharing that because I think it's really important for artists.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I look forward to doing this again. Anytime you want me on, let's do it. And I'll try to make sure this is the spot I need to be in. I need to be in my bedroom. This is where I need to be. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
All right.